Right. So we're very pleased to walk you through a summary in terms of the new business and funding models that Lonza and Anthos have put together in order to advance life-preserving therapies. I'm Jonathan Freeman. I'm the COO and founder of Anthos, and also the senior advisor to Blackstone Life Sciences. And I'm joined today by Abdul, who's the head of IBEX Design and Customer Solutions. The next slide is a disclaimer. I leave that to the curious at their leisure. The way that we're going to talk to you today is the structure of the presentation is to walk through the history of Anthos, the philosophy behind Anthos, the nature of the core program that Anthos is developing, and then turn more broadly to the specific needs of virtual biotech companies, and also looking particularly from an investor standpoint. And then I'll turn it over to Abdul, and he'll take you through the way in which Lonza can partner with investor-backed virtual biotech companies really to realize the business model that they set out to achieve. Walk you through the innovative business model that Lonza's put in place in order to generate that juxtaposition of needs, talk about IBEX, and then I'll come in at the end and just draw some conclusions. So I'll talk you through the history of Anthos Therapeutics. I'll talk you through the nature of the program that we're developing, the features and benefits associated with that, and then I'll talk you through the specific needs of virtual biotechs, and in particular, their investors. So Anthos itself was a company that was created following the formation of Blackstone Life Sciences in collaboration with Novartis. The key thing I would say that is being commonly observed, and this is really what Blackstone stepped in to address, is that the bandwidth and the capacity of larger pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies is being restrained in terms of their ability to develop the portfolio, primarily because of the P&L constraints that a lot of the companies experience within their R&D budget. And what Blackstone did, and Anthos was the first company that resulted from that, is to have innovative ways in which it can come in and partner with pharma and biotech in order to establish different ways of financing and different ways of developing these compounds. And Anthos is a specific example of this, where a compound that Novartis was developing was taken out from Novartis and placed into Anthos and developed with Blackstone investors and other LPs associated with Blackstone. The business model that Anthos operates as a result is very different from those of a classical biotech or a classical pharmaceutical company, in that it is very virtual. But regardless of the fact that it's virtual, the three key elements, the mantra, if you like, that Anthos has, similar to a lot of virtual biotechs, is that there's no intention and no room in any way to not develop the programs with equivalent quality to those that are developed within big pharma. The flip side of that is that the biotechs and the virtual biotechs in particular are looking to develop the compounds and the programs in very, very efficient and agile fashion. So we're only developing in Anthos the expertise in-house that we need in-house, and only the sufficient amount of expertise that we need in-house. And what that means is that in order to generate the bridge between the quality that we need with the capacity that we're looking to build in, the core is really to have partnerships across the value chain which allow us to achieve those goals. And what we're going to talk to you about today is, particularly from the CMC standpoint, the way in which Lonza has really formed a partnership which is very much the distillation of what it is that we're looking for when we set up this type of virtual biotech business model. We turn now to the nature of the program that Anthos is developing. Here we see a gentleman who is sort of classically structured, and the point is really that the cardiovascular deaths worldwide are about sort of a quarter of the current deaths worldwide are due to cardiovascular causes. And a large amount of those cardiovascular causes are the result of thrombosis. So thrombosis leading to stroke, thrombosis leading to pulmonary embolism, and a variety of different pathologies. Now, there are obviously currently drugs which are available to address this set of pathologies, but what we see from a physiological standpoint and from a pharmacological standpoint is that as you reduce the thrombotic risk, so you attempt to reduce the pathology associated with pathological thrombosis, the result is also that you increase the amount of bleeding, so a physiological clotting effect that stops you basically bleeding out, also called hemostasis. And the current drugs that are available, so the initial drug warfarin, which is essentially a rat poison, and the more recent direct oral anticoagulants, what they do is, yes, they reduce the thrombotic risk, but they are associated with an increased bleeding risk. And so they have a sweet spot that we're trying to capture in terms of the graphic that you're looking at here, within which they can be used. So a therapeutic index where they reduce thrombotic risk, but the bleeding risk that's associated with that is still acceptable. What that does mean, though, is that there are broad populations which are either at high bleeding risk in the first instance, or have renal or hepatic impairment, which essentially are going untreated. The balance between bleeding risk versus thrombotic risk is tending towards physicians and patients not treating some of the thrombotic risk, leading clearly to the pathologies that we set out in the slide before in the gentleman in the red shirt. What the compound that Anthos is developing has the possibility to do is, through a lot of scientific research, and particularly focusing on the factors associated with, on the one hand, the pathological elements associated with clotting, on the other hand, the physiological processes associated with the prevention of bleeding. What we have developed is an approach to dissect really the pathological thrombotic risk from the physiological clotting event. And this is by targeting a specific factor called factor 11. And abelacimab, so the compound that Anthos is developing, is a monoclonal antibody. And that specifically binds to factor 11, both the activated form of factor 11, so the piece of the puzzle, the pathway that leads to the thrombosis, but also the storage form of factor 11, so the circulating form of factor 11 that's waiting to trigger that thrombotic event. So really what we're looking to do is to use this approach, this antibody abelacimab, to dissect out the pathological from the physiological, to reduce the thrombotic risk, but to increase the space between the occurrence of bleeding risk. So the goal is really to increase the utility and the benefit that we can bring to patients, and in particular those groups that really have been left behind with the current therapies that are not being used in these populations, either because they've got associated comorbidities or because they've got very high bleeding risks. So they're really being left behind and left out of treatment and being exposed to particularly pathologies like stroke associated with atrial fibrillation. So this is the goal, and this is what we want to bring to that patient population. We turn now to, I've told you what the virtual biotech is looking to do, which is, it's looking to develop things with a just-in-time capacity, a high quality, access to expertise, flexibility, which is key to generating the agility that biotech can bring versus some of its big brothers in pharma, as well as not losing the reliability. The flip side of this is also to introduce into this what investors are really looking for. So at this point, I put on my Blackstone senior advisor hat, and the investors are really looking for is not only all the elements that the companies are looking for, but also a very, very keen eye in terms of return on investment, the internal return on investment, very keen eye on making sure that the investment that is going in is really being linked to delivery of value in the most efficient fashion. And in particular, and this goes back to the comment I made a second ago in terms of the internal return on investment, also the value inflections that are being generated during the development of the compound are being reflected in the way in which the partners are being remunerated throughout the development. So linking payments of partners to value inflections. And this is a critical thing within the minds of the investors. And this is really something that, and Abdul will talk you through this, but this is something that, with Lonza, Blackstone and Anthos, we really work through in order to be able to tailor that value inflection with the payments, but still preserve all of the quality and capacity elements that are critical to moving the program forward. So that's the point where I hand across to Abdul.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. This is really also an exciting time for Lonza to partner with Anthos to accelerate basically patient access to innovative drugs. And so to deliver on all the needs that Jonathan just nicely presented, it was actually clear that we needed to co-create a new innovative outsourcing business model, leveraging basically on our brand new IBEX commercial solutions. What's really important for Anthos, a company like Anthos that are operating as virtual biotech and looking to partner with strong strategic CDMOs, number one is really to get quick access to the market while reducing investment risks and navigating a demand uncertainty. This is only possible by using actually a simplified supply chain and reducing complex process complexity and leveraging on very flexible and simple business models. We partnered together with Anthos and we developed a very innovative, what we call IBEX Develop offering, leveraging on Lonza's expertise and Center of Excellence and the extensive network. So basically, the journey would start in Slough, in United Kingdom, where we are using our Biologics Center of Excellence to tech transfer, basically the asset that's coming from Novartis. We were using actually the drug substance manufacturing site in Visp to produce drug substance. Drug product is done in our Stein facility, a facility we actually acquired from Novartis a couple of months ago, using also our Center of Excellence in Basel for formulation development. And it was really important basically to ship the drug product from Europe close to the clinical centers in the US and our site in Tampa in Florida, where we are doing the packaging and labeling work. So all this is done under one quality system, under the leadership actually from one CMC leader who is a point of contact towards Anthos. And this helps, this end-to-end offering helps actually to get quick access. And as you can see, compared actually to a sequential classical offer where you use different contract manufacturer, the beauty of the end-to-end offer from drug substance all the way to label drug product is as you are using one quality system, this allows you to actually do process, for example, drug product manufacturing without the need to wait for the final release. And this gives actually a tremendous time advantage of minimum 8 months in this example, which actually is helping to make the whole supply chain more robust and managing better project changes or changes in the clinical demand. What was also important, in addition to the technical solution, is to develop a true partnership where we are sharing together with Anthos and their investor Blackstone actually risks and opportunities. We developed 4 major milestones business model to actually deliver value and align it to the financial investors' needs and workflow. And these are actually major CMC milestones, basically. Number 1 is the gap analysis finalized. This is actually a moment of truth where you actually would look at the fit between the facility, the product, and the process. And this allows to define the final scope. The milestone number 1 was around process readiness. Number 3 is key actually to showcase the successful process transfer at manufacturing scale. And ultimately, the goal of this is, of course, to get the GMP campaign as well as the CMC dossier ready. In addition to the 4 major milestones, in a transparent way, actually, we put all pass-through costs. Let it be the raw material that we purchase, resins, etc. These are built at time of purchase and not rolled in the milestone, which allow actually a very transparent cash flow management. So the solution that we just offered to Anthos, it's the IBEX Develop, as Anthos is already in phase 2. But as part of the commercial solution, IBEX commercial solution, it's worth mentioning, and this is important for small biotech company, large corporation, moving actually from preclinical into the clinic. We've got what we call IBEX Design. It's a fast program from gene to phase 1. And this is complemented with the IBEX Dedicate solution. For IBEX Design, what really you need to remember are 3 figures, 12, 1, and 1. So 12 is actually the time that you need from the gene sequence delivered to GMP drug product. And this is guaranteed. I'd say it again, it's guaranteed. So we are sharing risks. So if we are late, we're paying penalties back to the customer and make sure basically we're delivering on time. In addition to that, we are guaranteeing a minimum quantity of drug substance, a minimum of 1 kilo, which is actually the amount necessary to get started phase 1. But this is again a minimum quantity. Usually we get something around 3 to 4 kilo. So we are also on the hook. If we manufacture less than that, we will either reproduce it or compensate for it. And to keep the clinical trial ongoing, we are putting in the manufacturing schedule a flexible resupply batch that actually can be used in a very flexible way by our customer. And this is complemented at the end of the spectrum with the IBEX Dedicate solution. This is a fully customized commercial supply solution. Basically, Lonza can put the CapEx in, or our client or customer can put the CapEx in, or we can split. So this is really a flexible model. Usually Lonza will operate the facility and our client will take control of the whole utilization of this asset. And we can, in a flexible way, manage the operational expenses. What's really key for many of our customers is the contractual flexibility. basically there is an exit option. Imagine if there is a situation where you might have a free capacity, and as a contract manufacturer like us, we have actually a lot of clients that are looking for that capacity potentially. So we can support actually, using any free capacity within our network. So this is quite compelling for many customers looking to share risks with a large contract manufacturer like Lonza. You see here actually a picture we took a couple of days ago. You see in the background a dedicated solution, a plant we built for one of our customers. In the middle, basically, you see this is our IBEX design and develop, and as well as a couple of dedicated suites are in there. And in front of it, you see the development lab, which is literally 9 meters away from the manufacturing suites, which is really important. Basically, we co-located development and manufacturing expertise in one place. So in the lab, we've got the development people, MSAT, the quality organization, QC, everything really under one roof and literally very close together for a very smooth transition from development into manufacturing. And you see a couple of pictures of our state-of-the-art equipment, bioreactor, disposable technology, and downstream equipment. Now I'm happy to hand over back to Jonathan to make the final conclusions.
So the partnership that we've described and Abdul has walked you through is really something which addresses what Anthos and Anthos's investors, predominantly Blackstone, have really been looking for, which is the ability to access world-class capacity, world-class quality, but to do that in a way that is very cognizant of the business model of Anthos and also the sensitivity of the investors. So the integrated approach in terms of getting an end-to-end solution, the flexibility associated with that, and all the advantages are really critical for Anthos to deliver on its mantra in the CMC section. And the ability also from the investor perspective of being able to link the milestones, the value that's being created with the payment without in any way impinging on the quality and the capacity and global excellence that is required to be brought into the mix has really been addressed by the business model that together with Lonza and Anthos have created to really hit these key points. I think really our experience to date in terms of how this model has been working has been excellent, and we're very much looking forward to continuing this process within Anthos with Lonza as a partner and bringing what we hope the next therapy to those patients that currently are being left behind in terms of the treatment of thrombotic disorders. So thanks for your attention, and there we go.